we are back at it again. Blacklisted Mx has caught up with Pasha Racing. Everybody knows him from the motocross community as Pasha. Um, it's a pleasure having you on the show today. And you were just doing some things with your 3KTM 150s. If you guys haven't seen the Motocross Action video, you need to check that out. Those were all personally his bikes. But before we even get into that, I just want to back it up a little bit and ask you, like, how did you get into promoting motocross? Because I know you spent a lot of time up north. Were you promoting motocross up there before you brought it down south?
Yeah, man, it's always been. It kind of always fell on my lap, to be honest with you, Demons. Somehow, in high school, when I was riding dirt bikes for fun, we had a 160 acre property up Northern California. So I was always riding dirt bikes and into off road trucks and four wheel drives and big wheels and stuff like that. And somehow promoting races, events, mud bogs, dirt bike stuff always was just fell into my lap, man. I didn't really I didn't have a plan to follow it or approach it. It just kind of happened. So yeah, it wasn't planned. Let's just say, Demond, it wasn't planned. It just kind of went with the activities that I was doing as a kid.
And
So yeah, Pasha Racing is actually quite old.
so, why did you bring it down to Southern California, and how did you get
So I
involved with
moved.
it?
Yeah, I moved to Southern California for family reasons and stuff like that with my family when I was a kid. And I actually didn't even start racing motocross till I was like late, because I was like 28. That's when I actually started racing. I was riding my whole life, but I never actually went to like a closed track race situation until 1995 at LACR.
Oh, okay.
And that's when I started actually racing. And then that's how the racing thing started. But Pasha Racing was even going on much before that with dirt bikes and off road trucks and jeeps and square body Chevys and things like that.
And you developed a race team over time. Do you still have a race team, and do you still sponsor guys?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked this question, man, because people wonder what is going on, what am I doing? So uh, a lot of people are going to agree with what I'm going to say right now. So what happened is, yes, I originally started a race team, right?
Hmm.
So we had a lot of riders. I've helped out dozens and dozens of riders, man, like national guys. We've gone to nationals. We've gone to Supercross. My partner at that time, Jeff Patterson, we had a big rig, and we did it big, right? And this is going to sound funny, and I don't know what you think about it. I'm really interested to get your take on this, Dimon, because a lot of people have their view about it. You know what I realized, man, is that the individual riders, and now each individual rider is going to get butt hurt right now, but the individual riders just didn't appreciate it.
Really?
Right. It's like a lot of them are like a little bit almost like self entitled, like they're owed a ride or something. You know what I mean? Like they didn't appreciate it. Like nobody gave me anything when I was a kid, right?
Hmm.
So you'd think these guys would really, really try hard, right? Like a lot of the riders, I felt like I was more interested into racing than more than they were.
Wow. Wow.
I know maybe on other levels of the people you deal with, it doesn't make sense, but on a B level, it made sense. Like a lot of these kids weren't into it or appreciative of it, right? So we were spending all this money, and we weren't getting much out of it, right? I'm not talking about a profit, because in motocross, if you want to make a million, you got to spend 2 million, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not talking about financial profit. I'm talking about just promoting and getting out there. So when I switched it over, instead of spending the money on individual riders, I switched it over to promoting races and having a purse.
Hmm.
That's when it blew up.
Okay. Okay.
So instead of helping, let's say it cost anywhere from 50 grand to 100 grand to help one rider for a season, right?
Hmm.
Instead of that, we just throw races with big purses to where many people can get a purse, and instead of benefiting one person, now we're paying nine podium guys, or top three, and five, 11 podium guys, and getting much more publicity and helping the community way more that way by racing.
Yeah, it totally
Yeah.
makes sense.
Does that
Um,
make sense?
oh yeah,
Is
it
that
totally.
sad? Is that sad to say that?
Nah, I mean, when you create a race team, it's like an investment, and so when you hire guys, you don't know what you're going to get until you get it, right? You
Right
know,
there.
and some guys It may benefit you in a way, and some guys may not. But in the long
Right.
run, it's still a business for you, right? So you got to do what you got to do, what's right for your money.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, we've had some horror stories with individual riders too, man. Horror stories.
But now you got your money all tied up in promoting and putting on some big
Yeah,
races, which you have some really good, huge turnouts. Is this something that you're going to continue doing?
for sure. That would be absolutely my goal. I've had some great friends come and join. You know, innovators, I call them. You know,
Mm-hmm.
guys who don't have to, but they volunteer to come in with cold hard cash.
Okay.
Uh, should I name them? Is that okay? I mean, can
No,
we
you
tell
can plug
people?
whoever you want,
Oh,
man.
okay, yeah, yeah. All right, man. Yeah, no problem. So, my buddy Nick Mayros was one of the first guys that I met at LA County, maybe 25 in 1995. So, however many years ago that was.
Okay.
At that time, I was a beginner, and Nick was a 125 pro.
Hmm.
We became friends, and we've always been friends. LA County Raceway, and CRC with Jack Barbacoe, and them kind of started my foundation. I think it was the perfect foundation, that LA County family.
Hmm.
I met a lot of people there. I mean, Jeff Willow, Casey Lytle, Seth Enslow, Kurt Caselli, all the guys that were up and coming to become pros at one time or another all rode and raced LA County.
Hmm.
So it was a kind of a grassroots perfect start for me, because it was like a family situation, but yet there were some national pros in there, right? It wasn't like Glen Helen. Glen Helen is wild. Glen Helen is all national pros. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So so LA County was a slower start, and poured a good foundation for meeting people, and grassroots kind of motocross family thing. And then when LA County closed, it was very disappointing and depressing to me, because I suddenly didn't have anywhere to go on Saturdays and Wednesdays.
Yeah.
And of course I knew where Glen Helen was. I've rode there before, so I started doing the REM, Frank's REM,
Hmm.
Frank and Myra's REM, and just by chance, not by design, not by a plan, REM, Glen Helen, and then of course Motocross Action Magazine and the scene at Glen Helen and all of that, as you know what it is. So I became a part of that,
Okay.
and the people we met there helped tremendously. You know, like Motocross Action Magazine would be 99% of one of my biggest supporters would be Motocross Action.
Okay.
Without them, I wouldn't be able to approach and do anything. So Nick Mayer was my buddy, and then Ken Gibby from Motocross Ministry up north by Hangtown. He's from Discovery Bay. What's his name? Rick Ellis. A bunch of guys came in with cash. Petronico Roofing came in with some cash. Luther French at one time came in with some cash. So I just want to thank all the guys who reached into their pocket, because they're innovators and they're leaders, and they saw what I was doing, and came in. But the two biggest guys were Nick Mayros and Ken Kibbe from Motocross Ministries. They came in with cubic money.
Okay. Well, shout out
I
to
call
those
it I
guys.
call it cubic dollars.
Shout out to those guys, man, to help you get your
Yeah,
situation going, man. And like I
right.
said, you're doing quite a bit now. Now, are you running a series, or are you just running like selected races?
We are running selected races that have become a series. So
Okay.
we race anywhere from 5 to 8 times a year.
Okay.
And the guaranteed races are World Two Stroke.
Hmm.
That's on schedule.
Hmm.
So what we do is we have World Two Stroke in April, right? So then we run a warm up race before World Two Stroke.
Okay.
So in like World Two Stroke is in April. So like in March we'll have a warm up race at Glen Helen on the main track to get ready for World Two Stroke.
Okay.
Then we have World Two Stroke, and that's in April.
Hmm.
And then in June, for the second time this year, hopefully we can hook it up and race the Extravaganza Pasha race at Hangtown
Okay. Nice. Nice.
in the national, like last year,
Nice.
right? And then the next big scheduled race after that would be World Vet in November.
Okay.
So then we have one race before World Vet to
Wow.
warm up for World Vet, right?
Hmm.
So we have a warm up World Two Stroke, Hangtown, warm up World Vet. That's 5 races, and then we'll try to do like an extra race here and there. Now, the race before World Vet is a warm-up race for the vets and the 50 plus,
Okay.
30 plus and 50 plus. But that's the race that pays pro.
Okay.
Because young pro can't race World Vet.
Yeah, that's true.
So young pro gets money in the warm-up race before World Vet.
Okay.
And then World Vet is only 30 plus and 50 plus.
Okay, so you're putting out a good dollar amount for to get these old pros to come out
Right.
there and race some of these two strokes, huh?
Yeah, the 50-year-old guys have made enough money to buy bikes.
Oh wow.
Yeah, they made big money because it's the same purse. I don't. Pro, 30 Pro, and 50 Pro all get the same purse.
Okay. Well, that's what's up, man. That sounds cool.
Zoom call. I'll be right there. Yeah.
Speaking of Motocross Action, man, congratulations on
Yeah.
seeing that your bike made the cover of Motocross Action.
Yes. Yes, that is the Hassaker bike, don't you mind?
Okay, that's the Hassaker build. Okay.
Right.
Now, with 3 of those builds, man, you got all your bikes after the shootout. Like, do you favor any of those bikes? Do you ride any of those 150s?
I know you're going to ask that, man. I knew you were going to ask that.
It's coming, man.
Listen, so all the bikes to me are special, right? Obviously. I mean, I love all my bikes, but I got to... Oh man, how can I tell you which one I favor? You know what I mean?
They're all similar builds, but everybody built different. I mean, a little slightly different. Have you had the opportunity to ride all 3 bikes yet after the builds?
Yeah. I've raced all 3 bikes.
Okay.
As hardcore as I can, and all 3 bikes have their benefits, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the bikes are actually very different from each other. In a weird way, even though they're identical builds, they hit and they pull and they run completely different.
Yeah.
Okay. So it just depends what the rider likes. You know, it is true that, Motocross Action said that the twisted bike was the easiest to ride. It's true because it's got the most bottom hit into the mid.
Okay.
Right. And that makes a 125 easy to ride.
Yeah.
Because that's what 125s are lacking, right? Is bottom end.
Yeah.
So the twisted bike feels like a 450. Like you can just chug a lug, come out of the corner and and go, right? So that makes it easier to ride for everybody. The Hassaker bike doesn't have, it has enough bottom end for sure, 100%, but not as much as the twisted bike. But then it's got mid and then it pulls to the sky, right?
Okay.
So if you like that kind of bike, the Hassaker bike would be the one, right? And then the Varner bike, I just call that bike violent. The Varner bike is just violent. I mean, the Varner bike is Mike Tyson.
Okay.
It just goes in, boom, boom, and you come out. That's it. It's violent. And then the Hassaker bike is like a professional MMA fighter that'll get to the end of the 10th round and win, right?
So if you go ahead, I'm sorry.
The twisted bike is the professional AMA bike, and the Hassaker bike is like a piece of art. It's like Bruce Lee.
Okay. So if you were to take a bike out this weekend and race at REM, what would you pull out? I know you're probably gonna make some of the guys upset, but what would you hop on?
I would hop on the Varner bike.
Really?
Yeah,
So
and I'll tell you why.
Mike Tyson, huh?
Yeah, I'll tell you why. REM is very, very unique because it's very, very technical, off camber, and short bursts, right? And Varner's bike is explosive. Okay, it's just like brap, brap, brap. You know what I mean? It's very explosive. Okay. Now, if it was a Grand Prix and I was going to go, I needed something that won't beat me up. It would be the twisted or the Hassaker bike. Okay, on the Hassaker bike, you feel slow, but you're really hauling ass because the Hassaker bike is fast, but it's gentle, right? Like when I was racing the Hassaker bike for a few months, I was beating people that I was normally having a hard time beating, but I didn't feel like I was going that fast. And I'm like, wait a minute, I just caught past 2 of the guys on 450s.
Yeah.
But I didn't feel like I was going fast, right? The Varner bike, you feel like you're going fast because it's like brap, brap, brap. It just explodes. But you also get more tired. Yeah. Like Josh Moseman said. He said, if I had to win a race and I had to pick a bike at the top of my game to win, he would pick the Varner bike. But on an everyday, he liked the Hassaker bike. I mean, the Twisted Development bike. So the bikes are all three. You can win. All three are awesome. It's just what your mood is for that day.
So what do you do with three bikes now that the shootout is done? You got three sitting on three beautiful
Yeah.
150s. Are they going to become part of a collection? You're going to continue to race them. You put guys on them. You sell them because I know you got probably quite a bit of money put into each build. So I'd
Yeah.
imagine.
Each build is in the neighborhood of like 25 to 30 grand
God damn,
for
that's like
125, dude.
90 grand of three
That's
bikes.
almost 100,
Man.
3 bucks, right? Yeah. So about 25 to 30 grand. So the thought of selling it would be kind of crazy unless somebody
Yeah.
wants to come and give like a real offer because they're like national bikes. You can't get any better than that. Like
Yeah.
it's the best of the best of the best on those bikes. So right now I just look at them. They're just parked in the garage. So I go sit in the garage and I just look at them.
Okay.
And then I still ride them. I race them. I race every weekend, so it just depends which bike I want to take out and race. I'll do that. And then I don't know if somebody wants to come offer some crazy money. I might sell, one, two, or three, but because I'm always building and doing crazy things. I'm already on my next build already.
Really, and
Yeah.
I was gonna ask you that. What's I mean, 23 is right around the corner. You just got this shootout done. What's in the works now?
Okay, so what's in the works right now is my 150s are getting hammered racing the 50 class with the guys that I race with on a regular basis because those guys are all have fire breathing race motor 450s.
Mm-hmm.
And I always have to work from the back because at Glen Helen with Talladega and that it's impossible to hold shot an equal talented friend on a 450.
Yeah, that's a mess.
I'm not Mike Brown. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So I get mid pack to last starts at best, right? And then I'm just getting pelted, man. And these guys are starting to run the Dunlap paddle tire.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Try being a 125 in the back of a 450 with a Dunlop paddle tire at Glen Helen, bro. We're getting sandblasted, right?
Yeah.
So I kind of felt bad for my bike. So I was like, you know what? I need a big bore bike, and I don't want to go get a 350 or a 450. I've had all of that. So I went and got a gas 250
Mm-hmm.
that I'm going to put a 300 kit on.
Oh, okay.
Right. So I got a 23 gas 250, and I specifically got that on purpose because honestly, unfortunately, I haven't heard anything great about the 300 fuel injected bike yet with the fuel injection situation. People can't modify them. So the gas is the only bike that has a carburetor and it's still a 23.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically a 22 KTM.
Okay. Now, are you gonna mod this bike? Or are you just gonna slap a
But,
300 kit and call it a day?
oh no, it's going to be modded to the sky, dude.
Okay.
Yeah, so Billatron is sending me one of their first not released 40 carburetor, not a 38 but a 40.
Oh wow.
They designed the carburetor for 300s and 500s.
Mm-hmm.
I think they call it the Big Air,
Okay.
and it's not even out yet. You can't even get it. So I should get one this week.
Mm-hmm.
And Andy Jefferson hooked us up with Andy Jefferson through one of my friends hooked us up with a 300 KTM kit with a ECU and everything.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah, and the bike is currently sitting at Varner's,
Okay.
and so we're going to put a 300 Varner build on it with the latest Billatron carburetor, 40 millimeter Big Air Billatron, and then all the goodies and FMF and everybody that supports me has come in, and we're going to build this bike as best as we can. And I decided to go for suspension on this bike. I went with what is equivalent to a Coppersmith A kit.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you know Coppersmith.
I don't know Coppersmith. I'm not too familiar with Coppersmith.
Yeah,
What are the AKs?
Coppersmith uses a hybrid of Olin's,
Okay.
and it's an air spring hybrid.
Mm. Hmm.
So because you know how KTM's and all have just air forks.
Yeah.
So this will run a spring in one fork,
Oh, and one fork and the other fork
right?
would be air.
Half as much air.
Oh wow, interesting.
Yeah, it's Coppersmith. You should check it out.
Well, I definitely will because I've never heard anything
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah,
So
it's a hybrid. It's a hybrid Olin's A kit.
okay, so this bike is just specifically for you racing. It's not going to be a shootout bike or anything like that. It's just a personal build.
It very well could be a shootout bike because one of the Motocross Action 50 plus test riders is John Ortner,
Mm-hmm.
and Motocross Action is building Ortner a Yamaha Pro Circuit 250.
Okay.
So we thought about once both bikes are built, if we can have a shootout against a 300 big bore versus a Yamaha Pro Circuit.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, for the 50 class.
Okay. Makes
Yeah,
sense. Makes sense, man.
yeah. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we can do a shootout between the Pro Circuit 250 and the 300 gas.
Okay, I know you got to be saving some money with yourself being in the motocross community for a long time, and you got all the right connections, and
Yeah,
you're putting a lot of money into these builds, man. But you got to be able to cut costs somehow. I know
yeah.
a lot of guys in there being able to help you out.
100%, man. I got to tell you, the other than the race promotion purse,
Hmm.
which is the guys I named off, Ken Kibbe from Motocross Ministry and Nick Maros from Elite Media Technologies. These guys that are putting in cubic money, the sponsors that help me, I just want to name them off, and hopefully, God, I won't forget all of them, man. Of course, FMF, Billatron, Lectron,
Hmm.
Recluse,
Yep.
Fast Company, Recluse, Fast Company, FMF, Flow,
Yep.
ASV, the dealers, Three Brothers, AEO, AEO REP, Langston Motorsports, AME Grips. Um, God, there's so many of them. I can't remember. I hate not remembering all my sponsors.
You're not the first one.
ZRT zero resistant throttle tubes with the bearings. I'm just imagining my bike and what's on the bike. I already said Recluse. I'll think about it and I'll mention them as we go on. 6B Fast House.
Yep. Yep.
6D for their helmets, and Fast House for the gear. People are probably cussing at me right now because I can't think of them.
All good. All good. I want to switch it up again, man.
Yeah,
My show's very diverse. I like diversity. I'm not a hater to anybody, but I've had guys on the show that's been from Mexico, that's been from Africa, that's, my Canadian boys, my American boys. I like to mix it up. That's just me. Never had a brother that was Middle Eastern, man. How
yeah,
in the world? It's a pleasure having you, but how in
yeah.
the world? You don't see too many Middle Easterners out there riding or racing
No,
motocross.
yeah,
You're probably maybe the only one that I'll have on the show,
yeah.
but being from Northern California, having 100 and some acres as a kid, how did the world did you get involved with motocross?
Okay. That's a great question, Devon. I'm glad you asked it, man. So, um, I've always liked dirt bikes ever since I was a child, right?
Yep.
And growing up in the Middle East, I'm basically Iranian.
Hmm.
With all the exciting shit going on right now with Iran on the news and everything.
Hmm.
I'm basically what is called an Iranian Turk.
Okay.
Okay, not from Turkey, but an Iranian Turk, which is like saying like I don't know. Do you know anything about Armenians? You know how
Oh yeah.
Armenians are. Yeah, so you know how Armenians are from Armenia, Armenians
Hmm.
are from Kuwait, Armenians are from a bunch of countries that are, but still Armenian.
Hmm.
So I'm an Iranian Turk.
Okay.
Okay, now in that country, being a Turk is like being Polish, where you're the blunt of all the jokes. You know how you say, "Oh, the Polak this and the Polak that." That's how the Turks are in Iran. Anyway,
Okay.
I always liked motorcycles, man. So I remember the country and the culture is not one of motorcycles.
Hmm.
So the opportunity to ride and have a motorcycle and stuff like that just was not possible, man.
Yeah.
It's just not. It wasn't happening in a third world country. So
Hmm.
all I had was just watching it on TV and Motocross Action Magazine. If anybody snuck it in, because there was no social media, there was no computers. It was just
Hmm.
if somebody in the street had a bike.
Hmm.
So before I moved to America, I moved to England, and I was in London, and I remember there was obviously a huge motocross scene in England because that's where motocross started from, right?
Hmm.
So I remember all I could do was just stare at the motorcycles at the shops. I was 12, 11, 12, 13 kind of thing, and all I did was literally just stare at a motorcycle. That's
Hmm.
it. That's all I could do. I never rode one, never had one, didn't have the opportunity. We lived in an apartment in London, so having a motorcycle and going in the dirt was just not part of the thing. Until we moved to America in 1979, and my dad was a developer and a art agriculture guy, so it's like a farmer.
Hmm.
So one way or another, we ended up with 170 acres in Sonoma County, which is Northern California, which is basically where Josh Moseman is from.
Okay.
Yeah. So once we got the ranch, and I was able to, lay it thick on my dad to try to buy me a bike. So eventually he broke down and bought me a 1979 YZ100.
Okay.
So that's my first motocross bike that I ever owned. And I rode that basically till the tires fell off, right? Every single day until the sun went down. I even rode it at night, right? Because I knew my track by heart. So I just rode around that ranch. And then at like 15 years old, a couple years later, I got a job at McDonald's and bought my first bike myself from the Yamaha dealer in 1981 YZ125 with the radiator on the cooler,
Yep, in the front.
on the forks, yeah. So I bought that myself,
Yeah.
and then I just never raced. I just rode off road, all the Northern California stuff. Most of the time, I just stayed on my own ranch because I had 160 acres,
Yeah.
and I had pretty badass land to ride on because it was elevated with elevations and hills and creeks and rivers and straightaways, and so I just basically rode there endless amounts of time.
Okay.
And then in the late 80s, I moved to Los Angeles. Didn't know anything about the motocross racing community. I was just a little Middle Eastern dude who had a dirt bike. Like I knew nothing with a name like Pasha's, which makes things even worse, right? So when I moved to LA, I had a friend. He had a Harley Davidson shop in Venice.
Okay.
He had a Harley shop. His name was Carl Legaspi, and he was a Harley dude. And he had a KX500. So when he found out that I had a dirt bike, he goes, "Hey man, why don't we go race?" I said, "Race? Los Angeles? Like there's racing in Los Angeles?" Like I came from a 160 acre ranch from a farm
Yeah.
to LA, like
Yeah.
LA, not Temecula, not Murrieta, LA. Right? And I'm like, there's dirt bike riding in LA. He goes, "Yeah, man, LACR." And I'm like, LACR. So in 1995, he took me to LA County,
Oh, okay.
and that's how it all started.
That's how it all started.
Yeah, that's how it started. And then I couldn't stop racing.
Yeah. Yeah. Once
Yeah,
it's
but I
in
was
your
already
blood.
28. Yeah,
Hey, it's in your blood. It's in your blood. No matter
yeah,
when
man.
you
Yeah,
get
yeah,
started,
yeah,
man.
yeah. So the reason I started helping kids, Damon, is because I didn't have the chance.
Yeah.
And I know everybody says this stuff, dude, and I know everybody thinks they're going to be James Stewart, but I swear to you, I would have been a national pro, like 100%, if I had the opportunity, right? 100%, man, 100%. I would have been a national pro, and I didn't have the opportunity. So when I started seeing kids that, like, broken families, they didn't have the money, they had the talent, that they didn't have the money. That's how I started helping riders because there were kids that I could see, like when I could see myself when I couldn't get a bike, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
For one reason or another. So I helped them with bikes and stuff like that. And that's how helping others ride started,
Yeah. Yeah.
was to give the kids the chance to race because I didn't have it.
Oh, I feel you.
Does
I
that
was.
make sense?
Hey, it makes
Right.
totally sense because I was in the
Yeah.
same way. Because I was like I tell people all the time. I wasn't really raised around my father, and my mother wasn't really pushing
Right.
motocross toward me. I was playing sports and doing all the right things. I was
Right.
a fuck up, to be honest with
Yeah.
you. But what saved me was motocross, right?
Right.
I always looked back and rode bikes, but I was very talented at riding and racing. So when I wanted to start riding and racing, it was all on my own. And
Right.
I started riding at 6, but my first race was around 13 or 14 years old,
Right.
and it's always been that way. But if I would have had, I felt like you, like if I would have had those opportunities that weren't given to me, I felt like you said, I could have been the
You'd be a
next
national
Stewart.
guy
Yeah.
all day.
Yeah, all
I'd be.
day.
I know everybody thinks they're going to be the top gun, but I swear to God, man, I could have been top 10 easy because right now, through Glen Helen and through REM and through Motocross Action, right now I'm racing, the 50 Pro, and I'm racing guys that were all AMA guys, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Right, and quite often, not Kurt Nickel and not Doug Dubach and not those guys, but quite often I beat the rest of them
Hmm.
with much less experience and half the time on a bike.
Yeah, yeah.
So when I beat a guy that was an AMA pro, he did nationals, and at 50 years old we're racing and I beat him, then I know if I had the opportunity I would have been a top 10 guy for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, yeah.
So that's one of my biggest sad losses that I feel, is that I never had the chance in this lifetime to go pro on a real motorcycle, like in a real AMA thing, because I'm just not from this country, man.
Yeah, well, you're doing a beautiful thing, man, and
Yeah,
I commend what you're doing, and you're giving back to the motorcycle community,
right.
giving people opportunities that they didn't have, and that's a beautiful thing, man. You're
Yeah,
creating memories. I always talk about giving back into the sport, man, and for you being a Middle Eastern brother, like
yeah.
the
Isn't
only
that crazy,
one,
man?
yeah,
Yeah,
and you're still dumping loads of money and stuff like that into the sport, man.
yeah,
It's a beautiful thing seeing stuff like that, man. So
yeah.
yeah, so I
Through Dennis Stapleton, I've met a lot of Middle Eastern guys that come out and ride now. Young kids from Kuwait.
okay,
And Israel has a big motorcycle community. I'm sure you know a lot of Israeli riders,
yeah,
but not Iran or not like Pakistan, Afghanistan, not those
yeah.
wild countries, man. I know some Iranian riders who ride dirt bikes. A very good friend of mine comes and rides with me every weekend. I fully engulfed him into motocross. But just the culture and the community just wasn't one of motorcycles.
Yeah, yeah, totally
So,
agree.
yeah, so I led that pack.
Well, that's good, man. Well, one other
Yeah,
question, man. I don't want to take up too
yeah,
much of your time in your buddy's office. He
yeah,
might come storming in there. And
yeah, no problem.
this is a question about your number plate, man. Everybody's got
Yeah,
numbers. Everybody
yeah,
runs certain numbers, man. And I know what
yeah,
L7 means, but
yeah,
tell me down your path because every bike you got, you run that L7. What is that to
yeah,
you, man?
yeah. Okay, so I'm very superstitious, man. Right? I'm not religious, but I'm spiritual, right? So I'm
Mm-hmm.
very superstitious.
Yep.
So L7 was lucky seven,
Okay.
and my race number used to be seven,
Okay.
but I had a little sticker, a little tiny L sticker,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I don't ride without it. Like when I load up my bike, the bike I'm going to race has to be loaded behind the driver's seat.
Really?
Right? Yeah. Like I'm not going to put it on the other side.
It's like
Right?
dropping a brand new helmet. You got to do it, right?
You got to do it right. So I'm very superstitious, man. So I didn't want to ride without the L to make it the lucky seven, right? So I figured, what am I going to do? So I had sevens. So I just flipped a seven upside down,
Yeah.
but it was big. It was the same size as the other seven, right?
Yep. Yep.
So that's how I took it out there, and everybody's like, "What is that? What is that? Where did the L come?" I said, "Oh, lucky." Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. And then it just stuck.
Yeah.
It just worked. You know what I mean? And now that L7 shape has almost become like a what do they call it? This new social media stuff. What do they call it when you have you try a brand?
Oh, okay. Okay.
It's become
I
like
can
a
see that.
look. You know what I mean?
So what do they do? They just call when you're out there racing, you're leading the race, and they usually give out numbers and names. They just give out your name, or do they say
Well,
L7, Lucky Seven? Number
yeah,
seven? What do
they
they
say
say?
L7, but it depends on the group.
Okay.
Like for example, I race old timers, I race swap, I
Hmm.
race REM, I race everything. Some people they can't score me as L7, so they score me as 17,
Oh, okay. Okay.
right?
Yep.
Some people can't score L7, so they just score me as 7,
Okay.
right?
Makes
But
sense.
if it's my hometown and they know who I am, of course they say L7.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right
yeah,
on. Right on.
yeah,
Tony,
man.
man, I appreciate it. Pasha, this
Yeah,
is Tony from Pasha Racing.
yeah.
Thank you for your time, man. It's a
Yeah, no problem,
pleasure
man.
meeting you,
Yeah,
whatever
anytime,
ways.
anytime. Thanks for having me, dude.
Anytime.
If I missed any of my sponsors, I'll apologize. I basically live at Glen Helen, so I'm there 24/7 on any
Yep.
time.
Yep.
Please come up. And by the way, did you ever see that show I did, Bennett's for the movie?
No, no, plug me on
Oh my
that.
God, stop it, dude.
I haven't seen it. Talk to me.
Do you not know about anything like
You
that?
know what? I was going on your social media and I seen some little movie clips and stuff like that, but
Yeah.
I haven't
Oh, I
tuned
thought you knew
into
for
it.
sure, man.
I did not
Oh,
know. No.
oh, you know what my name is on my back above L7, right? No,
No. No.
Hollywood.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, let me
So
see it
so
right
so
here. Hollywood.
so that's another name for you, Hollywood.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, you got the
Hollywood.
carburetor. I see
Yeah,
it.
yeah, that's a Mikuni, man. That's a Mikuni. Where is it?
I see it.
I'm surprised you saw it, dude. There, that's a
Yeah, yeah, I
Mikuni.
caught it. Okay.
Yeah, and there's L7.
Branded, yeah. So that's the brand right
Yeah,
there, man. You branded it on your arm.
yeah, yeah. So, yeah, I'm in the movie business
Okay.
again by accident.
Hmm.
So you got to watch the movie Bennett's War. You
Bennett.
haven't, you haven't,
No,
you
no.
haven't.
I'm writing it
Come
down
on, come
now,
on, dude. You're Mr. Motocross, dude.
dude. Sometimes I'm just late to the party, you know.
Bennett's War. Bennett's War. My brother and I produced and we made it. And Bennett's War is a movie with motocross in it. It's not a motocross movie, but it's a movie with motocross in it,
Okay.
and a lot of it. And it was shot by every local pro you can imagine at Glen Helen.
Oh shit.
And it's a story about a veteran who gets hurt that has to come back to racing because they're losing their farm in Northern California.
Interesting.
And I'm the main bad guy.
So, Kate, where can I locate this movie? Where can I find it?
Anywhere, everywhere.
Everywhere. Okay.
Yeah, on Netflix, everywhere. You can rent it online, YouTube. You can pay whatever it is to rent it and watch it. But it's called Bennett's War.
I'll watch it tonight.
Yeah, I've done like 60, 70 movies a month.
God damn. I was in the movie
Yeah,
business for a little bit of time here and there. I've
good
done some
man.
national
Yeah.
commercials, some
Oh, awesome. Yeah, I've done
some
about 6
billboards
national
and stuff.
commercials and about 60 or 70 movies, starting all the way back from being a stuntman on Terminator.
Damn.
Yeah, man.
Okay.
Yeah,
You got a
yeah,
hell of a resume, man. I appreciate it,
yeah,
man. And
man.
yeah, we'll catch up. But when I get out to SoCal, man, I'll definitely be hitting
Yeah,
Glen
where you
Helen.
at? Where you at anyway?
Right now, I'm in Toronto. I'm in Ontario right now, but
Oh,
my,
right
my,
on.
my home base is SoCal. I used to race REM on a regular basis. I know all
Oh,
those
no
guys
way.
who race there. I've won a lot of races at REM. I used to do the Yamaha dealer series over there.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, I used to work for
I
Keep in
got to tell you
Toronto.
something. Ending up at Glen Helen, ending up at Frank and Myra's REM, ending up riding side by Motocross Action Magazine. Uh, you can't plan that, man. That's just pure luck. I mean, like, I'm extremely lucky that I was able to come from where I come from and to park next to Jody Weisel and Tom White
Yeah,
and Lars Larson and MXA and all those guys and Josh Moseman and Stapleton and all of that, man. It just, you can't plan that.
no.
So like the rest of my life, all this stuff just came together, man. It was
Well, it
never
was meant to
planned.
happen. It was meant to
Yeah, it was meant to
happen.
happen,
Yeah,
right? Fate and
exactly.
destiny, man. Yeah,
Exactly. I talk
yeah.
about like paths and
Paths,
lives and
right?
everything, man. And
Yeah,
and your
yeah.
life is
You can't make this in a movie,
no,
dude. This is
no.
just like super lucky, super thankful. I believe in God. I'm not religious, but I do believe in
Oh
God
yeah,
and the Lord and all of that. So it's
yeah,
just it's extremely two thumbs up to.
yeah.
If I die tomorrow, man, throw a party. I'm happy.
I'm gonna throw a big one for you. I'm gonna play that movie
Yeah.
too in the background.
Yeah. Oh, you got to see it. You got to
Oh, I'm
see it,
watching
Demar.
it
Text me.
tonight.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Text me because it's about motocross and it was produced by Lucas Oil.
Wow. What year did this drop?
Yeah. I did this movie 5 years
Damn,
ago
a
at the
little.
Nationals at Glen Helen.
Oh
The
wow.
last national at Glen Helen.
Hmm.
When was the last national at Glen Helen?
That's a good question. It's been a while.
Yeah,
It's
it was the last national at Glen Helen
okay.
because we have the national footage.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, in the movie because the movie was produced by Lucas Oil
Okay.
about Lucas Oil outdoor motocross.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. I'll
Yeah, and
definitely
that's
be
just one of
watching that.
one of the movies where I play the main bad guy. I thought for sure you knew that, Damon.
I did not know. See,
Oh,
I
you got
did
to
not
see the
know,
movie,
man.
man. I
I
got the
will.
stupid haircut, same everything.
All good, man. You got your branded,
All right.
dude. All right, brother.
Yeah,
Well, it was
man.
good having you on the show,
Yeah.
man. You're
Thank you
welcome
very much,
back
man.
anytime, man. And
Anytime,
thanks
man.
for your
Thank you.
time, man. I appreciate it.
Right on it.
All right,
Thank you,
man.
Damon.
No
Thanks, man.
problem.
Bye.
Peace.